Hi everyone, this video is just to give you some insight into graphing inequalities. So in order to graph inequalities, we need to make sure that we're showing all of the solutions to the inequality on the number line. So if we look at this first one, this one says x equals 6. So basically, this would be a solution set of all numbers equal to 6. That means that x, the only number that x could equal is 6. And so in order to graph that, we would put a dot on 6. How does that change when we're actually looking for more solutions? So in this case, this reads x is greater than or equal to 6. So this would be all numbers 6 or more. So x could equal 6 or 7 or 8 or 9, anything else to the right. So how would we graph that? We would graph 6 just like always. It starts at 6, but then we would draw an arrow to the right. So that means that 6 plus every single number bigger than 6 is a solution to this inequality. So what happens if it's only greater than 6? So these are all numbers. X would be all numbers bigger or greater than 6. Now for this could mean that it starts at 7 and 8 and bigger, but it also could mean 6.1 or 6.001. And so in order to graph this, we would put an open circle on 6. So 6 is not included in the solution set, but every single number past 6 is, which is why I'm drawing an arrow to the right. So our cheat sheet. If you are graphing with a closed circle, your inequality should be less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, or equal to. Where an open circle would just be less than, greater than, or not equal to. So let's look at this example from our journal. The first one reads, 8 is less than v. I'm going to rewrite that. I always like to put my variable first. So I'm going to say if 8 is less than v, then v has to be greater than 8. So my solution set would be all numbers greater than 8. Since it's all numbers greater than 8 but not including 8, I'm going to put an open circle on 8 and an arrow pointing to the right because all the answers are bigger than 8. So that would be 9, 10, and so on. This reads u is less than 8. So this would be all numbers less than 8. So that means it does not include 8, but it's all the numbers smaller than 8. So I'm going to put an open circle on 8 and an arrow pointing to the left. And by doing that, that means that 8 is not included in the solution set, but all the smaller numbers are. The next one says a is greater than negative 2. So I would write all numbers greater than negative 2. So I would put an open circle on negative 2, and greater than means all the numbers bigger than negative 2. So I would draw an arrow to the right. This one says b is greater than or equal to negative 2. So this is different because it includes negative 2. So this is all numbers negative 2 or greater. So in this case, negative 2 is included in the solution set. So I need a closed circle on negative 2 and an arrow pointing to the right. Okay, so let's do some more examples. N is less than or equal to -5. So here's what I do. I look at this and I say, what is the number that it's going to be on? And it's going to be on -5. Is it an open or closed circle? It's a closed circle because it is less than or equal to. So I'm going to put a closed circle on -5. And the arrow, it says that these are less than, and the numbers that are less than are pointed to the left. This number 2 says n is less than or equal to 5. So in this case, I'm dealing with 5. And this is, again, a closed circle because it's less than or equal to, which means it includes 5 in the solution set, and it's still less than, all the numbers smaller than. X is less than 1, so I'm looking for 1 on my number line. Since it's not less than or equal to, it's just less than, it would be an open circle. And less than means all numbers to the left that are smaller. R is greater than 2. I'm looking at 2. I'm finding 2 on the number line. And since it's greater than but not greater than or equal to, it's an open circle with an arrow pointing to the right. All numbers greater than or bigger than 2. Next, n is greater than 5. So here I'm looking at 5. It says greater than, not greater than or equal to, so I'm going to put an open circle on 5 and an arrow pointing to the right because all the numbers bigger than 5. Are we noticing that the way that the arrow is pointing in the problem is also the way it's pointing in the answer? Just checking. R is less than or equal to -2, so I'm going to find -2. It says less than or equal to, which tells me I should be using a closed circle. And since it is less than or numbers that are smaller, it points to the left. K is less than or equal to -2. Same exact problem with a different variable. I'm going to put a closed circle on -2 and an arrow pointing to the left. M is less than -5, so I'm going to find -5. It says less than, not less than or equal to, which means it's an open circle and an arrow pointing to the left. Okay, so let's look at this next one. It says write an inequality represented by each graph below. So if I look at A, I see an open circle. Since I know it's an open circle, it's either going to be less than or greater than. That is for this one. It's going to be either less than or greater than. And I see that it's on -3. So I could write my variable and I could write that it's on -3. And then since it's an open circle and my arrow is pointing this direction, I want to use the symbol that is pointing that direction, and it's greater than. So my inequality for this is x is greater than -3. For this one, it's a closed circle. So if it's a closed circle, it's either greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to. It's either less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing my inequality x, and I notice that the dot's on 4. Since it's a closed circle and the arrow is pointing to the left, the numbers are getting smaller, so I know it's less than or equal to. So again, how would we graph the solution for 5 is equal to s? If that means that the only number, if it's equal to, the only number that is equal to 5 is 5. And so I'm going to put a closed circle on 5. How about for 5 is not equal to t? So for not equal, I'm going to put an open circle on 5. It could be any other number in the universe other than 5. So 5 is not included, but every single other number is. So that is just a quick overview of graphing inequalities.